Welcome to another episode of Talking Down to Conservatives. How are educated people supposed to respond to conservatives who say they don't understand a subject that we have a degree in? I have a degree in economics, I have 2 degrees in history, and I have a degree in government. I have graduate work in psychology, education, and business. My hobby is quantum chemistry and astronomy. Absolutely anyone who knows me and has any kind of education themselves knows that I know what I'm talking about. But Voldemort here, who doesn't even know which "you're" to use for his sentence, thinks I don't have a degree in economics and couldn't possibly understand the Great Depression. Let's look at the facts. There isn't a single solvent red state in the country. Every single one of them depends on government to survive. States like California and New York only get about 67 cents on the dollar back from their tax contributions to the federal government. Red states don't contribute to our treasury. They don't contribute 1 penny to our federal government or the military for that matter. But let's take the Great Depression and take a better look at that. The Great Depression wasn't the only depression in history. We had an economic recession or depression every 8 to 12 years forever. That's because conservatives win elections from time to time and destroy the economy. They kept getting worse. And the reason for that is when the economy is doing poorly and warehouses fill up with merchandise, companies lay people off. It's the profitable companies that do it as well because nobody can afford their products. So, say you have a radio manufacturer in 1929 and the stock market collapses. By the way, that was October 29th, 1929. FDR didn't take office until March of 1933. 3.5 years of misery under Republican leadership. So the company, it has a warehouse full of radios. Why would it continue to produce radios? So they lay their staff off and just wait until their warehouse is empty again before they hire people back. Well, those people are no longer spending money. So now the car manufacturers are having a problem and the lots are full of cars. Nobody's buying them because of the depression, so they lay off all of their employees. Well, now the men and women who were working to build cars, they don't have any money to spend. So now the people making refrigerators, they have to lay people off because their warehouses are full. And then, comes the couch manufacturers, and it just goes on and on and on. It's a vicious spiral that happened every single time there was a recession or depression, and the economy could never get itself out. But there was this brilliant economist from England. Conservatives hate him because he was gay. John Maynard Keynes, the father of modern economics. Keynesian economics is the only system that works if capitalism is a component of the economy. What you do when you run Keynesian economic policies during a recession or depression is the government borrows money and it uses that to create jobs. The more useful the job, the better, because it provides an actual effect above just putting money into the economy. It creates meaningful work and accomplishments. Under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, they built dams and roads. They replanted trees throughout the Midwest to help curb the Dust Bowl. The Rural Electrification Project brought electricity to a lot of homes that had never even come close to being modern. He also created the minimum wage, which, if it had kept up with inflation, would be $27 an hour today. Minimum wage was intended to be a living wage. No company should be allowed to exist that doesn't pay its employees enough to survive in their state, city, whatever. It shouldn't be allowed for a company to spread poverty. If they can't afford to pay a living wage, which is $27 an hour today, then they should not be allowed to do business. We ended slavery with the Civil War when liberals defeated conservatives who killed 400,000 Americans defending slavery. Anyway, we have October 29th, 1929. The stock market collapses. That was under Herbert Hoover, a conservative. They had 12 years, well, not at that time, they had 9 years of laissez faire economic policies. Laissez faire is the same exact thing as supply side economics, Reaganomics, trickle down economics, voodoo economics. It's a system that gives money to the wealthy, hoping they create jobs out of the kindness of their heart and the hard earned money we just redistributed to them. Here's the problem: giving wealthy people a little bit more money doesn't prompt them to create jobs. Because if they wanted to create jobs, they already have enough money to do so. If you give them money when times are rough, they're going to save it because times are rough. It's the same reason that charity doesn't work. When charity is needed the most, it gets the least in contributions, in donations, because people are struggling. So they don't give away their money when they're worried about where their next meal comes from or whether they're going to be able to pay their mortgage. So if you give a wealthy person, a billionaire, somebody worth $100 billion, like Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, if you give them $10 billion in bonus money, why would they create jobs with that? They already have over $100 billion. They can do it without getting a handout from government. Conservatives don't understand this. But here's the kicker. This is why it slows the economy down. When you give them $10 billion each, that's $30 billion that is no longer in the economy creating jobs. It takes it out of the money supply. It goes into a tax haven in the Cayman Islands and it's gone. So the economy shrinks because there's not enough money to go around, so not enough money gets loaned out to businesses and they can't make ends meet. So they start shutting down or pulling back their expenditures, and that causes the recession or depression to continue. Let's look at it from the other side. If you give handouts to the poor people, you either give them a stimulus check like President Biden did to get the economy going again, which was the most effective recovery of an economy ever. If you give them the money, what are they going to do with it? They can't save it. They have bills to pay. So that little stimulus package, that $500 or $1,000 they get, it has a home. But maybe they spend $800 paying down their credit card and they take the other $200 and they go to dinner, a movie, maybe they buy some clothes for their kids. That creates jobs for the waiter, the manager of the restaurant, the person at the theater selling them tickets, the usher, and it creates, the job at the retail store selling clothes, and the person who drove them there in a semi-trailer, and the person who made them. It stimulates the economy from the bottom up. That works every single time. That's how we got out of the Depression. The problem is we didn't do it on a grand enough scale, so it took more time. Now, the first 3 years of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's administration were the 3 most productive years in history. Today, a 2% GDP is considered really good. FDR's first 3 years were 17% growth, 11% growth, and 14% growth, respectively. No other president has better GDP growth than him in his first 3 years during an 8-year administration. Not even close. Not even Reagan, who tripled the Republican national debt from $900 billion to $2.7 trillion during his 8 years in office. He didn't even come close to that. He averaged close to 3%, but he was spending like a drunken sailor. Anyway, how do I take someone like this seriously who can't even form one complete sentence? I don't. Talking down to conservatives, once again for the win. Thank you, Padawans. Have a great day.